Hey everyone, this is Mrs. Martin. Sorry I couldn't be with you this period, but I did want to still talk to you about the research component of the Kite Runner photo story assignment. So you'll see on the screen, the research is a huge part of your total points. You get 20 points just for taking it seriously and using reliable sources. And then you get an additional 10 points for using a required source, country reports. So I want to go over all that with you, but first let's talk about how your sources will be scored. So you have a print copy of the source rubric, and this is the point scale. So 0 through 5, it should be a scale that you're familiar with, either through the library or maybe your history or English classes. Basically, a way to encourage you to use reliable expert sources is by giving them points. So we'll just drop to the bottom half, anything from 3, 4, and 5 is what we're really looking for. A 3 source would be a source that's going to get you started. Maybe you've never heard of Pashtuns before and you want to get familiar with that cultural group. So you would maybe start with an encyclopedia. We have Encyclopedia Britannica that we subscribe to, and that is on the Library Pathfinder for this project that I'm going to show you in a little bit. Next, a website from maybe a news source, international source, maybe like the BBC, New York Times, or also an educational source, maybe a .org, .edu, PBS, for example. Those would be trusted media informative websites. Of course, not all are created equal, so you'll want to make sure there's an author listed and that author has a background in either Afghanistan or history or whatever you're doing for your photo story. Fives are databases, primary sources, books, things like that. They have a lot of detail. It's a source that has an expert author and shows where they got their information from. So usually the databases are where you'll get a 5 out of 5 point source, but you can see on the rubric there's some other examples as well. So you should have no problem getting the 20 required research points. Just use a couple of 5 out of 5 sources and you'll be there in no time. All right, let's go to the Oak Ridge Library website. So here's a link here. And then Pathfinders is what you're looking for. And then the Kite Runner. So this is a research guide for your project. Ms. Sales and I have worked on this project together for a long time. I've always done the source part. So you'll see the recommended sources. You have the reference background, encyclopedia to get you started. CIA is a great source with quick facts. You have that required source, country reports, and then some other database sources as well. Websites, I'm sorry, these are books. I mislabeled that, but you have some books if you would like to check one out from the library, even an ebook that you can access from anywhere. And then below that are the websites. So you'll see, the sources that we're sort of looking for. So these are on different topics. Just scan through the list to see if yours is on here. Of course, you can Google your topic as well. Just make sure that it's not a non-expert source like a blog or, just a .com that doesn't really back up their information. Afghanistan is a topic that, a lot of people know a little bit about. After 9/11, it became more common to the majority of Americans. But it's also a topic that, because we went to war with Afghanistan, it can get controversial. So I want to make sure that you always look for non-biased sources, people that have, are familiar with the country, maybe journalists that have visited, soldiers that have visited, people that have immigrated. Those are great sources to find. So below all that is photo collections. So I found these. I think they're a great place to get started when looking for your photos because they have captions. The photos have captions, so when the photo was taken and maybe what part of Afghanistan or which group. So it's a better option than Google. Let me show you what I mean. If you're just Googling, I'm going to say Afghanistan, and then I'll just type in education. If you're just Googling a topic, Google collects images from all different websites. You'll see the website listed below. And usually the people from the website tag their images so that they can be found through Google Images. But there's human error. Sometimes people in the pictures are tagged improperly. Maybe it's not children in Afghanistan. Maybe it's a neighboring country and the journalist visited multiple places and they made an error. So what I'm trying to say is we want you to check the sources of your photos, just like you would check the sources of your websites. So it should be sources maybe you're familiar with, or you could see, .gov, .org, and then, investigate it further. So HRW, you see right here, stands for Human Rights Watch. I'm familiar with that site. I know it's a good one, but if you aren't, you may want to click, it's probably on the bottom, like About Us. Here's Contact Us. Just find out what their mission is. It might say mission statement. Here we go. So you can find out if it's a reliable, trustworthy source that's non-biased. So that is advice for finding pictures through Google. I'll show you, since we're talking about photos, let me show you some of the collections here. So I found this one recently from The Atlantic. It's a magazine, and not all of your topics will be mentioned, but there's some interesting ones listed. So you can see the variety. This one was really cool. Afghanistan in the 1950s and 60s. So that would definitely take care of one of the history groups. Women of the Afghanistan War. Maybe that would work for some of you studying the wartime period. Just take a look. There's even more collections. But the nice thing about this is it's from a trustworthy source, and you should have captions. Let's see. Yep. So there's a lot of information that will help you with your photo story. So the others are here for you to explore as well. Some have a slideshow, so you can look at those to help you. I'll look at the databases next because they also have photo collections. So let's start with a database. I'm hoping you're familiar with the Gale World History and Context. So you can type in a few words here, but I would not treat this as a Google search bar. You want to be specific, but not too specific. So I'm just going to try Afghanistan and education again. So just a reminder, if you haven't used Gale in a while, these databases are a collection of sources. So you do have images as one of your choices. And there are captions here. There's only 5 images, but at least you know it's a reliable source. Biographies, you might want to check out. News would be good, especially with the topic of education. Education in Afghanistan was very different in 1999 compared to 2020. So that's something to look at. Reference would be like an encyclopedia source. You can see this one's countries and their cultures. This is an encyclopedia of cultures, encyclopedia of children. So explore these. A lot of times you'll get an overview and then you just have to jump to the education section or search for it. So here we have, I know it's down here. Okay, I'm going to do Control F. There's a picture, and then here we go. So it's not much. It's child rearing and education, but it will give you a good place to start. Nice thing about this project is it's not heavy on writing. It's more about finding great photos, and you're only looking for 12, so I should say make sure that the 12 are the best representation of your topic possible. But you do want to have background information so that you can write informative captions and so you know what you're talking about. So this is, a little bit of information. When you need to cite, Gale does the citation for you. So you can copy this into your slide, or you can send it to Noodle Tools if you're using Noodle Tools. All right. Country reports. You all are using this. So it takes you to the Afghanistan page, but I would just sign in because it's going to ask you for that in a moment. It's ORHS and then Trojans, all lowercase with an S at the end. And then you can go back to Afghanistan. So this is a country database, and these topics on the side, this menu, will be where you want to start. So for example, obviously there's a customs group, so customs and culture. That will help you out. The education group, there is a people and education, might be down here. Oh, here we go. So here it is, education. It's just some quick statistics primarily, but again, that will be helpful to you. You don't need a lot of text. Government and politics for the government group. Next, history. So this is a good overview, but you have other choices as well. For those of you that are looking at the last 6 months, I would definitely check out these current headlines. It says news today, so this is a place to start, but I would definitely not just look at today, look at the last 6 months. I really liked this expanded history for all the history groups because it does a nice job of giving you the different time periods. And then there's a lot of detail once you click. So I'll just try this one, for example. And some of the links have even more. Also within here, information about the ethnic groups. For those of you that are looking at the Pashtuns and the Hazara, you can check that out. And then, there might be more for the other groups as well. Education, refugees, that would be refugees. Some of you looking at the Afghan Americans might be able to get some data from that, how many people have left the country. And then here's more for the history groups. So please check this out. I'll show you where I found it. It was under history and it was expanded history. Photos. So no matter what your topic, I think all of you will be able to use these photos. There's not tons, but since this is a required source, you should be able to find a way that you can use it, either for textual information or for photos. This source usually gives you a citation down here. So you might want to expand on it a little bit. Like if you looked at the education piece, you might want to add the title of the page you're looking at. But overall, it's a pretty good MLA citation. Another country database is Culturegrams by ProQuest. So it's the first country listed in the Asia category. And same thing like the last database, country reports, there is a nice menu. So you would want to skim the titles, maybe see, so even though it doesn't say education, it does say family, and then there's a piece on children. So you might have to explore and click a few tabs before you find what you need. So this one can also be cited. Oh, MLA 8. So that helps you out. That's why I like showing students the databases. It's really easy to get the citation that's pre-made for you. All right, so those are a lot of 5 out of 5. CIA World Factbook, recommended source, but it does just have mainly quick statistics, so you'll want to get more information from the databases. As I mentioned before, some of these are for specific groups. I tried to find something for everyone. There's an article on kite flying, for example. You, of course, are welcome to go online. Just make sure you have a trusted source that you can use. You're following the source rubric and you're finding expert authors. Journalist sources are fine since they have often traveled around the world and are familiar with Afghanistan. So just recap, you are looking for 20 points of research. You're going in the Pathfinder, getting most of that research, looking at the different photo collections, and putting it all together. I'm guessing many of you will use Google Slides. You're familiar with it, and it's easy to share and collaborate. If you want to try another program, that's fine. Adobe Spark, I know, does photo stories, and it also has music integrated into the program, and it's easy to do the timer, but last I heard it was not as easy to collaborate with someone else compared to Google Slides. So check that out or use another program that you're familiar with. And then if you have any questions, please come see me in the library. Thank you.